So, good afternoon, everybody. So, thank you so much for being here on a holiday. Is Saturday holiday or Sunday holiday? Both. Okay. We all wish for a 2 days holiday, right? So, and as you all are here, of course, we all know the drill for the beginning, the motivation, like thinking of benefits of others and to want to change yourself. All this are important motivations, right? Even I, whenever whenever the teacher or somebody sits on a throne, it's really important to do this as a reminder of impermanence, right? So of course all of these meditations are important and all of these have symbolizations on each level. So of course we'll get back to that again. So let's just relax for a bit, catch our breath. I think I'm out of breath. So that's the thing. And in the previous sessions, of course, we have covered some of the root afflictions and some of the secondary afflictions that arise from it, right? So today we are going to explore 3 afflictions, of which 1 is a root and 2 are secondary, and we would also do a little bit of the 4th one also. Yes. And these are the ways our minds get stuck, right? So these are emotions or mental factors that we are in present with, right? So of course we are going to talk about negligence, non-introspection, pride, and self-satisfaction or arrogance, right? So we are going to talk about all of this. So before beginning from all of this, as the tradition of starting the classes with a quote, right? So we share a quote from one of the Buddhism's greatest philosophers, right? Basically, we call him the chariot inventor, or inventor in itself, right? So Nagarjuna. The quote is interesting in this. So what's he going to say here is, if one presumes oneself to be even better than one's betters, okay, then one has pride beyond pridefulness, thinking oneself to be loftier than the lofty, right? Wording is nice. Loftier than the lofty. It is excessively bad, like developing sores on top of your boils. Complex wording here, right? Loftier than the lofty, better than the one's better, and sores on top of your boils. Has anybody had sores on top of their boils? So these are the things that's there, right? So let's dwell on this sentence for a bit. Let's try to understand it, right, in a way. What does sores on tops of a boil mean? So let's try to unpack this a little bit, right? Let's try to unpack this a little bit before we go to the mental afflictions and the root affliction of pride. So if you are already smart, accomplished, and you are intelligent, you are wealthy, you are skilled in something, right? And you see somebody who is equally good at that, equally or more better than that, more better than you in that sense, then you think you are better than that person, someone who is more skilled than you. There is persons who are more skilled than you. You take them as an object and think you are more skilled than them. So that's pride on top of pride, right? Of course, you have the pride that I am an accomplished person, I am a skilled person. But over that, you see the object of somebody being more accomplished than you and having the thought that you are more better than them, right? So here he says, swords on top of your boils, right? You have the pride, so you have the pride over the pride. So, of course, like an abscess, I like to call it abscess, right? But here we have used the word boils. In Tibetan, it's usually the word abscess in the Tibetan translation itself. So, abscess is already an infection that has already happened, right? From inwardly. So, on top of it, you are getting sores on top of it. Abscess on top of abscess. So, that's not going to heal. That's like infection compounding on infection, right? Infection on top of infection. So that's pain upon pain. So that's why he's saying here, it's excessively bad, right? It's more badder than the bad. Here we are going to use funny words, loftier than the lofty, badder than the bad, right? So why? We'll come back to that later. So just keep that in mind, right? So this is a really important quote that right now, because the pride itself is already a wound, and on top of that wound, you are creating another wound. We get a promotion, right? Suppose we get a promotion in our work life, or some teacher congratulates you, then you think I'm better than the better, right? And I'm better than that person, somebody who is like higher than you. And we are always comparing our knowledge, our skills with somebody else's, right? And we are always in this spiral of our life not being enough. So here the wisdom is not just about, he's not just talking about monks in monasteries, like should not do this. He's talking about the world in general, right? So it's about us as humans, what we are usually having these afflictions arise. So then that's the thing. So suppose you do, it's a funny image. Suppose you do makeup on the, what do you call, abscess, right? Makeup on the abscess, like it's like putting, what do you call, what's the makeup?
Foundation.
Cosmetic foundation and cosmetics. Concealer. Okay, concealer, foundations on top of the abscess and making it look good, right? Suppose right now in the modern world, this especially in the spiritual sense, it shows up like I am more mindful than you, right? It can be, oh, in this person I'm the most humble person. I'm the most humble person, or I'm the most less egoistic person. Okay, that can also be an ego. I'm the most less egoistic person. Can you ask me about it? Okay. So this infection, right? Okay, this infection or boils is not just about egos, whether it's in online. It also shows up in our spiritual practice or spiritual setting also, right? I'm more mindful than I do. Suppose you do 10,000 rosary, 100, right? I'm doing more than you. So this is always there in our life, right? We are always, in a way, experiencing it. So that's what this is saying. So we'll come back to that again. So in a way, firstly, we will not talk specifically about pride, but we'll talk about the other, then we'll come back and see what's happening here, right? So first we'll talk about negligence or heedless. So basically there are three, that the first two secondary that we are going to talk about: heedlessness or negligence, right? Was the first one. Yeah, negligence. The negligence and non-introspection, pride. Due to pride, we get arrogant and all this. So before we get into all this talking about pride, so we talk about the other two, because of other two, the pride arises, and because of pride, they are basically like a loop, right? So if you understand these three, kleshas and afflictive emotions, in a way you can understand yourself more, right? Why it's happening like that. So of course we are going to use the same set of framework that we used in the previous kleshas, which is to identify what the klesha is or define what the klesha is. What is it? How does it feel like? What is it, right? Then we recognize the causes, the second step, like how does it arise, right? What is the feed that you are getting so that these three emotions get more inflated? You are making them more fat, right? You are making them more fat. And how it grows how it becomes our habit, right? And thirdly, after we recognize the suffering that it causes, then we go back to the antidote, right? The three-step framework for all of the previous session, we apply it here too. So this is really important, right? But the Tibetan Buddhist way of approaching it is like, first you identify, you recognize whether it's a good or bad, what the causes, right? Then if you can be eliminated, you try to reduce or eliminate it. So what can we actually do about is the antidote. So that's the thing. And one more thing before we go into the kleshas is that we are not bad for experiencing these kleshas, right? But some teachers may say you are bad for experiencing these kleshas. In a way, you are bad, right? But from my point of view, it's not that we are bad, we are experiencing these kleshas and you are bad, right? It's just that we are human and these patterns or these emotions have been, we have been habituated to these emotions for a lot of eons of lives. If we consider the rebirth, or even in this life, we have been when we are born till now, we have been used to this type of emotions. So that's why we haven't been shown a different way. So that's why it doesn't feel like, because it feels as if the environment caused these emotions to be habituated, right? As the Buddha has said, there is too little persons who know the Dharma. Even if they know the Dharma, there are so little persons that practice the Dharma. Even if they practice the Dharma, there are so little persons that can really attain the attainment from the Dharma, right? So all of these are really low, and we are really beneficial that we are able to be in a community where the Dharma is prevalent, right? We must almost always think of this gratitude or privileges that we have. So the Buddha doesn't teach us these teachings to make us feel bad. He taught it so that we can make different choices, right? We can be less negligent. We can be less, what's the other word? Introspective. We can be less prideful or arrogant, right? So that's exactly the point here. When you notice these emotions, when you are able to notice these emotions and see the sufferings that are caused by it, that's the shift that's already happening, right? I remember our great teacher, Latir Rinpoche, saying there was some monk that asked him, and the teaching, basically, and he said, we have been studying for so long, we have been practicing for so long, but there is no change happening. Sometimes we feel the change isn't happening, right? Then Rinpoche said, check for yourselves the beginning of where you are. If you are more angry at the point of time, and after 1 year or 2 years you are less angry, that means the Dharma is taking effect, right? Sometimes we want the change to be so drastic that from here to here, right? We just want the change to be like that, but it doesn't work like that, right? We are basically trying to reduce our habituation that we have been trained to do for so many years. So change won't happen in 1 year, 2 year. It will happen gradually, slow progress. That's what we forget, right? Suppose you are suffering from anxiety, you just want the anxiety. Tomorrow when you get up, today you practice the Dharma, tomorrow when you get up, you just want the anxiety to be gone, right? It doesn't work like that. So that's what Rinpoche had said. So it's really a good thing, right? To have this quote in mind. So we get started now. So our first affliction that we are going to cover is called negligence. There are many different translations of this. In some translations it's called negligence, some heedlessness, and some it's also as non-consciousness, right? So in Tibetan is basically palme, which if you translate it literally, it means not guarding, right? Not guarding your mind, not protecting your mind. But in the ornament of Abhidharma from Chim Jambian, it's the translation there is as negligence, right? So that's the terminology part. Now we go for the defining part, right? Let's try to define it with an analogy. Let's think of our mind as a beautiful garden, right? So yes, what exactly is negligence? The technical terminology here is it's a mental factor that based on any of the 3 poisons in association with laziness behaves carelessly without guarding the mind against accumulative mental affliction and fault. It functions as a basis for increasing non-virtue and decreasing virtue. So that's the thing, that's the technical term. So if you go from an analogical point, right? So here basically what it says is it arises from the 3 poisons and is associated with laziness, right? Negligence is associated with negligence and laziness, and you don't guard your mind, right? So here I'll try to give an analogy or an example. Think of your mind as a beautiful garden, right? Garden of the bay, is it? Gardens by the bay. Gardens by the bay. Think of your mind like a beautiful garden. And negligence or heedlessness is what happens when you let the gate open and aren't tending to the weeds and everything, right? So what happens when you don't tend to the garden? Weeds may grow, different types of flowers that you don't want to grow may grow, right? And pests also, like grasshoppers and rats may go in, right? So, and the garden will die away. So basically, and that's the thing here, we don't even know that's happening, right? So the technical definition is that, and the picture that I want you to paint is an unguarded garden, right? When this mental affliction arises, your mind becomes like an unguarded garden. Okay, today I feel like I'm playing with too much words, loftier than the lofty. Okay, so basically negligence is a mental state in which you fail to protect your mind from harmful actions, harmful emotions from arising, and cultivate virtue, right? So it's carelessness in a way, and it's paired with laziness, and it doesn't attend to the consequences of the action, right? So in the Abhidharma text, it's mentioned as it doesn't guard your mind from the contaminants, and its main function is to support negative actions, right? This one is really hard to pinpoint, because this is the part where you need a lot of what we call joyous perseverance or perseverance, right? So it's in a way like saying, I'll deal with it later, right? A mind that ignores small ethical and mental hygiene that we are accustomed to or we need to do, it just lets the non-virtuous sneak in, right? Suppose let's give an example here. It doesn't guard the garden. You let anything come in, right? So what's the best example here? Maybe imagine that you are at work, right? And imagine that you are at work. You have already been working for around what's the work hour? 9 to 5? 9 to 6? Okay, you have already been at the last moment of 9 to 6, maybe at the 6th hour, right? So you have already done the hard work and you are already feeling tired, right? Then your colleague or someone that you works with you makes a comment, maybe says today, sarcastically, right? Today you work really hard there. Like a sarcastic way. What's the sarcastic way to say it?
Today work very hard.
Okay, hor is the main point here. So usually if you are in the calm state of mind, you let it roll away, right? You may just ignore that comment and just go away. But today was the day that you snapped back, right? You say something back and you don't even know that you have said it back. So that happens, right? That happens. So later we go to home and we think, why did I say that back? I would have ignored it. So basically at that point of time, the mental factor of negligence or heedlessness or non-consciousness has arisen, and basically it didn't let you guard, right? It didn't let you guard the action that was caused by the thing. Our emotions are complicated, right? But we must keep in mind that whenever one of the mental factor arises, there are other mental factors also playing with it, right? Other compatible mental factors playing with it. So of course you may get angry at that point of time, right? And at the point of time when you get angry, the mental factor of negligence also comes in and you act, right? You don't know what you are acting about. So that's basically negligence or heedlessness. So that time you weren't guarding what you are going to say. You weren't guarding your mind. You weren't watching what was happening inside you, right? We were on autopilot. Yeah, we are on autopilot, right? That's the thing. Then another thing is we want to do some work. We want to go to Gmail. Maybe Gmail is the most prevalent used email host. Then we go to Gmail. We want to check our mail, and 30 or 60 seconds later, okay, instead of checking the mail, you are scrolling what's on Shopee or Lazada for the 11 deal. What's going to do, right? And it's already been 1 hour that you are already there, right? And we forgot, we have not guarded our minds against getting distracted. So that's heedlessness. We were not conscious of the moment that our intention shifted from to a reaction, right? What we are doing, our action. So that's the thing. then of course sometimes it also happens like social media posting, right? When we are posting on the social media post, we write a post, somebody has said something, right? And at the moment you are just angry and want to rebut that social media, and you post a story on Instagram saying this is wrong or something like you post a comment or you post a story, right? There is no pause. You are basically acting on your mind, right? Acting on the emotion that has arisen because of something bad that has been said online. So, and after some time, you may think, why did I post that, right? You may think. So that's heedlessness, that's negligence. So these are the examples where negligence takes place. It doesn't arise independently. It has other emotions working with it, like anger, ignorance, or attachment, right? As it said before, it arises from the three poisons, right? Of course, it arises from the three poisons plus, right? Plus laziness, right? The laziness here is like the subtle laziness that we don't even know that it's laziness, right? We don't know that we are being lazy of guarding the mind, right? Guarding the mind takes an effort from our own, right? Our own mind. It takes energy from our own mind. And it's a lack of motivation to engage carefully, right? Of course, we need to engage with the world. There's no possible way that we cannot engage with the world unless you are become like a caveman or somewhere. We have to engage with the world, but we are not taking that effort to engage carefully with the world. So it arises from laziness also. It's associated with laziness. So as we have already defined heedful negligence and non-consciousness or heedlessness, right? And the causes that causes this are, of course, the three poisons, right? And of course, it's a little bit associated with laziness. So that's what we need to keep in mind. The laziness here is we are not aware to guard the mental thinking that's happening, right? The negative, or we are not being able to guard against negative emotions or processes that's happening. So that's the thing. Another is distraction, right? Because of distraction, we have already talked about distraction in the previous sessions. Your mind, our mind is pulled towards some more stimulating things, right? So, because scientifically speaking, our brains are literally wired to check whether threat is coming or not, right? Novelty and threat. So, social medias, of course, whenever we watch a reel, we are seeing something novel, right? Something we haven't seen before. Then we are constantly sharing this. So I would like to ask you all a question and you think of the answer yourself, right? Which social media post you think attracts you more? The negative ones or the positive ones? Okay, most of you. The negative one, oh, what happened, right? The curiosity generally arises like, suppose there's a controversy that's happening, suppose there is something that's bad that's happening, then your mind generally goes towards that a little bit more than the positive things. Positive things, oh, good for them. We just say good for them and pass away, right? We forget to like, or maybe like or comment. We just forget to like the positive things and just forget to comment on it. Suppose there's something negative that triggers something inside you, you are suddenly the keyboard warrior there, right? This is how it should be. You post your view strongly online. So these are the things because of distraction, right? You get distracted from the reality and your view and all this. So that pulls your attention and it doesn't let you guard, right, in a way. And since that's why maybe we see a lot of like negative more, and it creates yourself, and you think the world is ending, right? Once you start looking everything, you feel your world feels like as if nothing good is happening here, right? Nothing good is happening here. So that's the thing. And of course the three poisons. So that's the thing here. Of course, now if I like summarize the things, the classical is ignorance and attachment and anger. The modern is like, we can say, like the dopamine hit, right? After seeing every post, every negative or positive post, right, but less positive, and decision fatigue. Of course, there are the social norms. They are doing, so I must do it type, right? Like everybody does it. Everybody scrolls the Instagram. Then why should I be the, what do you call? In Tibetan, there is a nice name for it. Why should I be the white crow?
Crow.
Yeah, usually crows are black, right? So, but why should I be the white crow? That's different from others, right? Everybody does it, so I also doom scroll. So that's the thing. So in this world, like negligence is almost like wired into us. It's designed in a way that our environment itself is designed, or has been, there isn't somebody who designed, but it has been created, or in a way that our mind is always not in one place, right? We are not being able to guard the garden of our mind. So scientifically speaking here also, we are the children of ancestors. Basically we say we are come from the monkey, right? We are monkeys. Basically we say we came from to the evolution of being like a chimpanzee or a monkey. So we have to be, at that point of time, we had to be like vigilant of the threats that are there, right? So basically our mind is, in a way, scientifically speaking, wired to look for threats, right? So that's why maybe in a way we are more wired to look towards the negative post more than the positive post. So that's the thing. So we have here, what we have done is we have already identified what's negligence, and we have seen what it causes, right? What causes it and what suffering it causes, right? Basically, it doesn't guard you, and it lets you go into a negative spiral, right? It doesn't let you guard the mind. So these are the two things. And what are the antidotes to here? So the antidote is easy. Of course, it's the opposite. If we simply say, what do we do to be less negligent, right? We become more. What's the opposite of negligence? Mindful. Yes, exactly. Mindful, more heedful to our actions, what we are thinking, right? Basically guarding the garden. So, the antidote is vigilance, right? Being vigilant of what we are doing in the moment, right? Thinking before we act, and all this. It's a conscious effort to protect your mind against non-virtue and negative emotions, right? So it's conscious awareness that one of the antidotes is that, or we can also say it mindfulness. So that's the thing. So that's the classic example, right? Before we act, we think. Before we go on a doom scrolling loop, we think, right? Create a pause, like 5-minute pause, not even 5 minutes, 5-second pause before we scroll, right? 5 minutes may be too much. So, of course, this is because one of the antidotes is mindfulness. One of the antidotes is creating a pause, right? Creating a pause between the action and the thought. So of course, we all know, right? We all know that you don't have to answer it, right? You don't have to answer it. In the last 24 hours, right? How many times have you picked your phone up? One question. You can count? Can you? So, of course, if it's coming from like an intentional, like I want to do something, right? Suppose you want to go from one point A to point, you want to get a grab, you need to touch your phone, otherwise grab won't come, right? Of course, grab won't come to get you. That's intentional. I mean, unintentionally. How many times have you just took the phone and looked whether you have got any notifications, or just without any intention, just grabbed the phone, went into Instagram or TikTok and just scrolled, right? Without any intention. So basically that we create a gap before doing that action and the what we want to do, right? So that's the antidote here. We don't have to stop here. We don't have to stop forever. We just have to pause for 5 seconds, right? Before opening Instagram or before opening any type of app and think, oh, what I'm going to do here. So that's the beginning of you guarding your garden, right? There is an interesting story in Buddhism where it says there was a young monk, right? There was a young monk who was training mindfulness, basically. And that monk would meditate for hours, and his teacher would ring bells at random times, basically. So you are meditating and the teacher would just ring a bell. And whenever the bell rang, he must come back to he must come back and think whether he's meditating or whether he was lost in his thought, right? Lost. Of course, sometimes we think we are meditating, but actually we are just sitting in a pose, and we are always thinking of our vacation or whatever. So whenever the bell rang, basically what the monk had to do, the practitioner had to do, was stop what he was doing and think whether he was meditating or mind wandering, right? So, and the teacher also rang bell at random times, like even when he's not meditating, to stop at that point of time, just stop what he was doing, and whether when he was eating, to see if he was really eating or feeling being in the moment, right? Basically, whether he was being in the moment or mind wandering. So then at the beginning, the practitioner that was practicing this, he would be lost in different fantasies and rare, right? But this was done throughout like 2-3 years time, and it was at autopilot at this point of time. But one day, what happened was, after 3 years, 4 years, right? He suddenly got angry at somebody. Then when he got angry at somebody, he was able to create that space because of the bell ringing practice. He was able to think, he was able to capture the anger, right? Name the anger that's there. Then create a space before he acted. So he was about to say something harsh to the other person, but in that moment, no bell was necessary. He was able to capture his own mind. Basically, what the teacher was doing was training his mind slowly to be able to capture the emotions or to be able to guard the emotions, right? So he saw the anger, and instead of acting upon it, he took a breath, he responded, right? He responded with action, not reacted. Respond and react are two different things. So at that point, the teacher was happy and said, now you have learned mindfulness. So basically, we need somebody to ring bells at random times. Maybe when you are sleeping, ding. Then instead of practicing mindfulness, you always get angry there. So that's the thing. That's what vigilance is, right? That's where the acting before you act comes in. So it's learning to hear the inner bell that's there, right? The moment you are about to do something, fall asleep or doing, able to guard it against the non-virtuous things. So the classical, of course, now as we talk about the antidote, the classical antidote is mindfulness, right? And the modern or more, what we call practical or more easier way to do is like create a time difference between the intention and the action, right? Create a pause between that. Of course, we can also include impermanence in the, what do you call, practices and all this. And if it's modern, suppose like at 10 p.m. this alarm click will ring, and at what point of time I would need to think, right? We put an alarm at 10 p.m. every time in our mobiles, and whenever at 10 p.m. we just stop and think what we are thinking about, right? If possible. So that's the thing. Now we go to the second one. Yes, second one. That's heedlessness. We go to the second one, which is what's the word? I forgot. Non-introspection, non-vigilant, right? These two are really hard to differentiate. This is really hard to differentiate. So the previous one, the negligence, is the failure to guard your mind against non-virtuous thing, whereas non-introspection is what happens when you are like you don't know what you are doing, right? It's a difference. The difference here, okay, should I go here? I'll just talk a little bit about it, right? In the Tibetan, this mental factors and all this, right? Differentiating between this, there's something called the imputed nominal existence and substantial existence of the mental factors, right? So when we are talking about imputed nominal existence, it's like something that is not a separate independent mental factor, but is imputed or a different name, right? Basically they do the same thing but different name. So here non-introspection and negligence, heedlessness feel like the same, but they are different, right? They are different in the thing. So here, that one was inability to guard your mind. Here, it is inability to know what's happening in your mind, right? Can you spot the difference? The other one is not guarding your mind. This one is inability to know what's happening in your mind, right? There's a slight difference because this one arises from wisdom, which is non-wisdom in a sense, right? The what we call the mental factor of wisdom, like not having the wisdom, it arises from that. The other one arises from laziness. So there's a slight difference that's there. These are the types that are really hard to pinpoint, right? Okay, so basically I want you to keep in mind heedlessness or negligence is not guarding, right? Not guarding the mind. Whereas non-introspection and non-vigilance is not knowing what you are doing. Slight difference, right? So we also call it like lack of meta-awareness. Lack of meta-awareness. So if we really literally translate it from Tibetan, the word would be without monitoring, right? Without monitoring. The other is not guarding. When that has already arrived, it has already arisen, and you are already doing the action and everything, right? So if the heedlessness is not paying attention, lack of meta-awareness or this non-introspection is that not knowing that you are not paying attention. Okay? So there's a difference. It's a blindness of your own blindness. Today I'm really playing with the words, loftier than the lofty blindness of your own blindness. So this, the definition itself, right? The definition itself, the technical definition is a mental factor of afflictive intelligence. Yeah, the correct word is afflictive intelligence that engages in the activities of body without awareness, right? It's a function for basis of evil conduct and moral downfalls. So basically, lack of meta-awareness or is the inability to monitor your own mental processes, what's happening in your mind or body, right, in real time. It's almost like a security camera that's not watching, that's not being watched by, right? So the camera is running, but nobody is looking. Basically, is that, right? So it is when the mind forgets to check itself. What am I doing, right? Is it that I'm just doing something or not knowing it, right? This is really important. So basically it can be, let's give an example or analogy. So you are having a conversation with some, I think we talked about this little bit in the previous session, right? In the previous session, then we said when we are having conversation with somebody, you are not thinking about the conversation that you are having at the moment, but instead what you are doing is you are thinking, why is that guy, why is he wearing the shirt that he wore yesterday, right? Maybe looking at his shoes, why are his shoes black? You are not in the conversation. Basically, your mind is not thinking that, doesn't know that you are thinking about other things, right? From the outside, it may seem as if that person is just responding, right? They are looking at you. They are doing this. Oh, they are making the right reactions. But inside, we are completely elsewhere, right? So that's the thing. You are not watching yourself. Then I think I gave the example of you are in a meeting and your boss says something you need to do, and boss suddenly asks you, then you are in a pressure, right? Like that type of, it's in a way same. So that is lack of meta-awareness. Blindness to your own blindness. Not knowing that you don't know, right? Not knowing that you don't know, or yes, that's the thing. So where does this lack of meta-awareness arise from? Why do we don't notice what's coming in our mind? So in a way, according to Buddhist texts, it arises from distraction, right? And it arises from like our mind is too engaged in something that we engage with the content or contents of our thoughts, that it can't take a step back and observe itself, right? So that's the difference. And we are too busy thinking to notice how you are thinking. Basically, that's the thing, distraction. We are too busy to think that, to know that we are thinking. Okay, today is a word contest. Yeah, too busy thinking to notice that we are thinking. And one is habits, right? Of course, habituation is one thing, where we have been constantly just reacting, not knowing that this is anger and I'm reacting out of anger. We may be able to think at a later point of time, but during the moment itself, we are not able to think about it. So when it becomes a habit, you don't notice it you are doing, right? Suppose for us, unless we bring our attention to our breathe, we don't notice it. It becomes similar to that, right? It becomes similar to that. When it becomes our habit, we don't notice that we are doing this, and basically we are not noticing what we are doing. So, and of course, like sometimes we become too emotionally reactive, that when we are angry, when we are attached to something, then we become a shop addict, right? When we are attached to something, we just go online, buy it. We don't know why we are buying it. We have no idea of what this thing is going to do in my home. We just see it, we find it nice, we just buy it. Impulse buying. Yes. So that's where, scientifically speaking, when they say that happens, your frontal cortex, prefrontal cortex, your brain here switches off, right? This is like your decision making part of the brain. It just switches off. It doesn't work at that point of time. So this is the part of the brain, maybe the meta awareness is somewhere here, right? They measure the electrical pulses that are there, and they say that this just goes offline. This doesn't work when you are impulse buying or so on. Then of course the causes here are our weak mindfulness and weak introspective awareness, right? That monitors the mental quality and distraction. And modernly speaking, what we have done is we have been exposed to a lot of reels where we are switching constantly, right? We don't know why we are watching that reel for. Just reels are popping up one by another, one by infinitely. We don't know why we watched that reel, and maybe we saw something nice, we just screenshot it, we left it in our photo gallery, right? We call it photo gallery for like 1-2 years, and we come back to, oh, when did I screenshot this? Maybe this has happened to you, right? And of course, all of these are the causes of lack of meta awareness. So the antidote is easy. It's introspection, asking yourself, what introspection does is, here what we are doing is, it's knowing about knowing, right? It's knowing what you are doing. It's knowing, taking a backseat and knowing what's happening, right? So this is the ability to step back from your thoughts and observe them, right? The antidote itself, vigilant introspection, is like not to be lost in them, but to notice them. Oh, right now I'm thinking from these terms. Right now I'm thinking out of anger. So being able to notice. So what we can do, easy way to do it is, we ask the question, what am I feeling right now? Right? If you ask the question and we are able to just say anger, or we are able to pinpoint what emotion we are feeling, from time to time during the day, throughout the day, we just ask the question, what am I feeling right now? Right? What am I doing right now? These two questions. Why am I acting? This is the practical that what we can do, right? If you are scrolling in Instagram or TikTok, you just use the question, why am I scrolling? What's the end goal behind this scrolling, right? Right? What do I want to do? So, of course, we make it like a more intent-based than reactive-based. This is really helpful for us. So, beauty of this method is that you don't have to be sitting in one position, right? You can just be with your mobile and you can just practice this. Before opening the Instagram, make a 5-second pause. Why am I opening this? Okay. Once you finish the intended action for why you open the Instagram, you just stop it and go back to your work instead of wasting a lot of time, right? So that's the thing. So this is really important in the current modern life, because social media, I'm against the social media, right? I'm sure. The social media has turned introspection into a performance instead of like we are not actually observing ourselves, right? We are rehearsing how we want to appear in the social media, isn't it? We want to curate the things that appear there. Of course, life is not white and black. There is also a gray area that's there. But basically, what usually social media, when people post about stories, is they curate the lifestyle that they want to post, right? Suppose you want to go somewhere, you don't show the travel, or you don't show the hardships that you have to go. Maybe you don't show the visa problems that you had before before you reach there, right? You just show them the destination. That's what's happening. And here, when we are constantly seeing all this, then our introspection lessens down, right? We don't think how, why, and what. That's the thing. So I think that's the thing. So this simple practice of pausing, right? Pausing before you're doing something, like having the introspection. Why am I opening this? Asking that question. And what's the end goal? This simple practice will always be beneficial, right? To stop whatever. Over time, as said before, the ringing of the bell, whenever you do something, you'll be able to apply this, right? Then even when you are doing it, it will be able to catch you back and bring you back to the moment. So this practice is really important. So we have looked at negligence, the failure to guard your own mind. We have looked at lack of meta-awareness, of non-introspection, the inability to monitor your mind. So now we are going to look at pride, right? So it's a big one. That's the one that we started the quote with. Boil upon your boil. Pride beyond pride. This is a juicy one. This is a juicy, and maybe we all have it, right? We are going to talk about pride and arrogance, right? So the definition, or the technical definition, is here. Of course, you can see it, right? It's an inflation of the mind that arises upon perceiving anything, right? Suppose your own power, your own acquisition, your own iPhone 17, iPhone Air, your own social class, family lineages, good qualities, right? Or even if your voice is good, even if your biceps are big, these are all objects of pride. So it inflates it, right? And it functions as a basis for arising of suffering. It causes disrespect to others, right? And prevents yourself from developing good qualities. So pride here, what is basically saying is, pride is a mental state in which you regard yourself superior to others, right? In whichever sense it is, whether it be ideas, whether it be problem solving, whether it be your looks, or your things that you have. So it's an inflation of basically maybe even spiritual attainment, right? It's an inflation of the self-image. So there are actually seven types. Basically, in Tibetan Buddhism, we divide pride into 3, 7, and 9. But since 7 is much more easier than 3, here are the 7 prides, right? Let's name them, and let's just check with ourselves whether we have any of this pride in our own self, right? Whether you have ever felt any of this pride. So the naming, of course, is a little bit different. One is pride. I am better than this one who is considered inferior than me, right? I'm better than somebody who is inferior than me. This, of course, we may have, right? Suppose during your school days, maybe you are at maybe top 5, maybe you are in the top 5, and you saw somebody who is in the top 10, right? And you feel, oh, I'm better than them because I'm already in the top 5, right? So that's the thing. Then pride of superiority, I am better than this one who is considered my equal. Suppose you both are considered peers, you feel I'm better than that. Suppose this will mostly occur in a workplace, right? Like you have the same position and you still feel,
Same pay grade.
yeah, same pay grade. Then you feel I'm better than this person. I should be paid more, right? Okay. So you just check if any of you have any of this, right? Maybe some may have all 7 of it. Means you are rich. You have the 7 prides. Then excessive pride. I am better than this one who is superior to me. Somebody who is getting a better pay grade than you, then you feel I need to be paid more than him because I'm better than them, right? Then pride of thinking me, right? Your body, like thinking your body is better than somebody else's, and so on. So, and there's the pretentious 5, number 5. Believe oneself to have attained good qualities that one have not attained. This will occur a lot in spiritual attainment. That, like basically what I said, I'm kinder than you. Yes? So, the emulating pride, having perceived someone who is very much superior to oneself, say, I'm only slightly inferior to this one. Suppose somebody is really superior to do, oh, there's just a one step that I need to take to be equal to them, right? I'm slightly inferior to them, but I'm still the best. That type of thing. So distorted pride. So suppose some people really take pride in saying that I'm an angry person, right? I'm an angry person. Suppose something that this is my habit, I can't change it. Sometimes some people are like that, right? Like whatever is not good quality, they believe it's a good quality and they boast about it, right? And say, suppose you have what's considered a bad habit in Singaporean terms. Okay. Gaslighting. Okay, so anything, right? Suppose you are like you get easily triggered, or you are like, and they said, suppose you don't like the things that are placed like this, you just want it to this, and you are get angry over some small things, right? Then you say pridefully, I'm like that, I'm an angry person, and take pride in being that angry person, right? So that's the thing. So that's the 7 prides. If you want to read more, you can read more in Nagarjuna's Ratnavali, 4th chapter, right? So 4th or 5th, was it 5th? I think 5th. So I can't remember exactly. So it's basically on one of the Ratnavali's chapters, right? It's a little bit different than that, but it's the same. So can you see yourself anywhere in this list? Okay, you see yourself on any of this list. Okay, that's good. I can see myself in some of the lists also. Maybe we make a list of seeing who has the most one, right? So that's the thing. So that's pride. And here's how it feels in our body, right? There's a subtle inflation, right? I'm not talking about the price inflation. Here, your chest puffs out a little, right? Your chest puffs out a little. You feel a little bit like something filling up. When you are pride, you feel something filling up around the chest area, right? Yeah, you feel shock. There's a kind of righteousness, right? Feel like this is the right? I'm the best. and you feel solid, you feel like unbeatable at that moment. Like superior in a way, like little bit superior to the person that's you're with. So, but it's really interesting, right? Pride can be masquerading as a confidence, like difference between confidence and pride. We can actually think that we are being like self-assured, right? Self-righteous, when we are actually being arrogant. So that's the thing. That's the thing about pride. When you feel pride, how do you feel? Something puffing up yourself, right? So when pride is there, of course, its brother, its cousin will arise, arrogance, right? So arrogance, what exactly is arrogance? Of course, it's associated with attachment. It's a mental factor of seeing any contaminated good fortune in oneself, right? Contaminated in the sense that your mind has make up the object itself, right? Such as good health, etc. Inflates the mind with bliss. It's very good to have this pride, right? It feels so good to be prideful. It functions to assist all root and other mental factors. So, in other words, this is the technical right. In other words, arrogance is the active expression of pride. Pride. It's when pride moves up and shows up in behavior, right? The dismissive tone when somebody talks to you, and suppose somebody is teaching you bodhicitta, then you just eye roll. This I already know, right? The eye roll, the refusal to consider another person's perspective. That's what arrogance does, right? So here basically the definition is pride is exaggerating self-importance and thinking of yourself as the center of the world, right? Above, equal, or humbly below, right? I'm humbly below the other person, but I'm still superior. And arrogance, or we also call it haughtiness, right? Haughtiness is pride wearing heels. The imagination of pride wearing heels, right? Like pride wearing heels so that you can just look down, be taller, and look down at others, and dismissing the feedback that, even though it's constructive, dismissing the feedback, right? So this can happen a lot of places. Like suppose your workplace, you get a promotion. Normally you are known to be like kind person who always talks with others, knows others. Suddenly you get the CEO title, right? Suddenly you treat the people below you differently. You listen less, you explain more. Then in a way you think you know better, right? Not because of the promotion. It's not because you're because of the promotion. In your mind, maybe you have already made a mental story that your mind has already been stuck in that I'm already a CEO. I know more than them, right? They are not CEO. So you don't notice it happening. You think you are still the same person. Of course, in body-wise, of course you are. But there's just a name of the CEO that's been given. You have basically grown 2 horns. One extra horn. Right? So you think you are still the same person, but your colleagues, of course, they notice, right? When somebody gets promoted, this happens a lot. Not even, okay, you just notice this happening. When you gain power, you notice the shift happening. The person used to be like this, the person is like this now. So I think this happens a lot in the workplace, of course, right? Workplace. And I've seen this happening in kids also. Suppose they are kids, right? And in some of the kids, you assign a monitor. Do we call it a monitor or mentor? Monitor, class what? Or class rep or something. Then suddenly the class rep acts differently, right? I've seen this happen in kids also. Right? So, oh, perfect, yeah. This happens in the workplace. Of course, in social media, it happens a lot, right? You're getting pride and arrogant. You post a photo of yourself. What's the average like that you get? Like maybe 200 likes, right? Suppose something has exceeded. You feel good, you feel prideful. This photo is good and everything. Then you see somebody else's photo has been posted, right? You see that photo has 500 likes. Suddenly, you're thinking, my photo, right? My photo was more authentic, more, cinematic. Their photo is probably AI generated. AI generated or fake, not authentic. You have already made up this story in your mind, right? This story. But you are also, in a way, curating what you are showing, right? In a way, when we shoot the photo, we try to, clean out the dirtiness that's there, right? So, our mind has a function or that protects our self-image, right? Due to attraction. So, that's the thing. And of course, there's the spiritual pride, which is an interesting one. So, this is the one that practitioners, especially spiritual practitioners, have, right? We have been meditating, you have been studying Buddhism for a long time, maybe 10 years, 7 years, or so on. And you feel like you are more conscious than your friends, right? When somebody is doing something non-virtuous, you feel like, oh, they don't know the Dharma. So sad. I know the Dharma. They are in the wrong path, right? You judge them a little, not consciously, but there is a subtle purity complex seeping in, right? You think, I wake up at 6 o'clock to do my practice, they are still sleeping. Here, it's like pride has hijacked your spiritual practice here already. So, it causes us to disrespect others. It's this type of pride, right? It causes us to disrespect others. It's an obstacle to increasing our knowledge, right? Good qualities. And in Tibetan, there is a saying that it's difficult for a proud person to receive much benefit from Dharma because he or she cannot listen to the Dharma teachings with an open mind, right? This is particularly true for person who have studied Dharma for a long time, right? Religious or philosophical Dharma, and they already feel they understand certain topics. Then when such person hears a different view from a Dharma teaching, we come to a conclusion that Dharma is incorrect, right? I know what's correct and of no relevance to them, right? And if you have been listening to Dharma for teachings for a long time or reading a lot of books, we know that we feel that we already know the subject, and even when we listen, we just listen at a superficial level. Just listening slightly, right? Superficial attention to it. This is also a type of pride that prevents us from gaining deep experiences of the Dharma, right? So this is the thing. There is a saying in Tibetan Buddhism: an evil person can be tamed by Dharma, a proud person cannot. This is a really deep meaning behind it, right? So that's basically pride. Of course, we are familiar with it. We don't need to explain it more. And where does pride come from? So pride comes from grasping at a solid self, right? Like, of course, the root is ignorance, sense seeing yourself as a solid, inherent being, right? This is thing, and seeing yourself as permanent. Of course, we are not permanent. Then another is comparison, right? The moment you compare yourself to the less privileged or less knowledgeable, pride generally comes up, right? So the higher you are, the pride, the flower of pride blooms that much. So that's the thing. So classical, we can say the pride arises from the self-grasping mind, ignorance of dependent origination, and craving status. And modernly, it arises from comparison, right? So that's the thing. The impact that pride can create. Before talking about, of course, we have talked about the pride, identifying the pride, the causes of pride. Now we are going to talk about before we talk about the antidotes, we are going to talk about the impact pride creates, right? The mental suffering. Pride, in one sense, is the obstacle to learning, right? When you think you already know, when you think that you already know the topic, your mind closes the door, right? There is a Tibetan saying that no grass grows on the top of the mountain, it only grows in the valley, right? Also, there is a saying that if you are a prideful person, then the water of knowledge would not be put in you. Basically, here what we are saying is what we call the three vessels. Yeah, the three vessels. One is the open one is the upside down, one is the leaky one. So poison, dirty one, right? So when there is pride, you are basically the person the vessel that is upside down. When is it upside down? What happens is, no, it's not. Yeah, this vessel is empty. The vessel that is upside down, right? The vessel that is upside down. So when you pour, I would like Long to try it, pouring it upside down to see whether it stays, right? It will not stay. It will go out, right? So basically, pride is like a vessel that is turned, right? So it closes the door for your learning, and when you think you already know, your mind itself closes the door, right? So then pride is also an obstacle to genuine connection. We all have had this feeling when you see somebody who always speak up, I have accomplished this, I have done this. You will feel a little bit distant from the person from the beginning only, right? Then when you refer to yourself too much or too focused on the self, you generally tend to go far from that person, right? Then a real connection, right? Real connection needs a type of equality, right? The feeling of them being treated as an equal, even though you are a superior, you may be more knowledgeable in some fields, but if you treat them as an equal, they'll feel the genuine connection, right? Whereas if you treat them as an inferior, they'll feel it and they would, of course, wouldn't want to connect with you. So pride is also an obstacle to seeing clearly. right? When you are inflated with yourself, you are distorting the reality lens of reality, right? You are not seeing the person seeing in front of you. You are seeing him through the filter of superiority or inferiority. He's better than me, or I am better than him, like that. And His Holiness always says this, right? His Holiness always says this. Even though He's His Holiness, He says, whenever I meet with a person, I don't think I'm meeting that person of thinking I am His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, right? If he thinks like that, there is only one Dalai Lama in this world, right? Then he would be so alone. Then when that pride kicks in, we feel alone. We'll become the center of the world. Basically, nobody in the center but you, right? We'll feel that feeling, and it is not then it creates loneliness again. The mental struggles all are related to the root afflictions of pride and all this. So, but what His Holiness is basically saying is, whenever we meet that somebody by just looking at them as a human being, rather than seeing, I have this, I know this, right? And that, then we feel more connected towards the person, right? Then, of course, pride creates defensiveness and conflict also, right? So when you are a prideful person, if somebody questions your authority, you want to be that person, right? So the antidote here, what are the antidotes? The antidotes here is easy. It's practicing humility, right? It's not practicing self-degradation, not practicing like false modesty, but genuine humility. So how does humility come, right? Humility is seeing ourselves accurately, right? Not by the distorted of thinking ourselves as permanent, thinking ourselves as the best in the world, right? Only is the center of the world. It's recognizing that we didn't create ourselves alone, like your intelligence, your talents, or your good looks, that all of this in a way came from your parents, right? Your teachers who taught you how to study, what to read, kindness of your parents who brought you up, right? And your community, the persons that you are with, and your karma, right? So when we realize that we are a part of this interconnected web, like we are dependent on a lot of factors to be there for you to become the best at whatever you are at, then you become humiliated, right? If one of these factors were not there, you wouldn't have been that person that you are, the knowledgeable person that you are. So when we think like that, right? When we feel the gratitude towards our parents, teachers, community, then the pride will come down. Pride is in a way thinking, I don't need them to be the best. This is me being the best, right? When the pride really is so strong, it thinks like that. Then another way to generate humility is to know that we still have infinite room to learn. You may be the skilled person in one thing, but you still have many things to learn, right? No matter how much we know, there are infinite ways that you are ignorant, right? So humility is recognizing that you are always a student. You are not a teacher, right? That's the thing. So when we learn that we have so much to learn, words are coming out funnily today. When we know that we learn that we have so much to learn, then we become humbled, right? Genuinely knowing, not just thinking the word wise. And basically in the Tibetan sayings, there is the saying that we practice thinking, the different categories of the Abhidharma, right? It's really complex, so you get confused and you basically become humbled. In monk society, this debate society, is really hard to become too prideful of your view. Because whenever you are prideful of your view, there will come somebody who is better than you in debate. Even if somebody who is not better than you in debate, they debate with you and make you, what do you call? Cry. So that's the thing. When we think everything is temporary, right, and conditional, the promotion, you can be demoted, right? The beauty, it will fade. The look that you have will fade. The muscle that you have will lessen, right? When we think of the impermanence also, it helps us become more humble, right? So that's the thing. So the antidote here is humility training and seeing yourself as equal with others, and dependent origination. You are dependent on the kindness of your parents, teachers, and suppose you didn't have any teacher who taught you the topic that you are skilled about, you won't be there, right? So that's the thing. And rejoicing, of course, gratitude towards the teachers, parents, and community, right? So that's the thing. So now we are not less than somebody. Somebody is not more than us. We are the equal. But are we really equal? So that's the thing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this, and we'll go to the discussion part, right? A refreshment part, right? So in our modern world, specifically in social media, I see a lot of individualism being promoted, right? Promoted, like in the Western culture. I'm not disgracing the Western culture, but Western culture in a way prizes and praises the independence and the self-sufficient persons, right? Pull yourself up. There's nobody to pull yourself up, right? You do it yourself. You are the best. Yeah, whenever they speak motivational speeches, I see them saying, you are your... Of course, there is a saying that you are your own teacher and you are your own enemy, as we said in the first of the class. But this, sometimes motivations, they are too focused, right, on this individualistic motivation. You are the author of your own sources. You do you. So it's really dominant in the social medias right now, right, to fuel that individualistic pride, right? And of course there's that comparison, right? Seeing somebody post something bad and you comparing yourself and thinking I'm better than them, right? My looks are better than them. I have better things than them. Then of course there is the work environment that creates all this comparison culture, and the center of the world mindset, right? You thinking you are the center of the world, you are not the center of the world. That's the truth that we have to accept, right? We are living in a community, we are living in a world that's constantly changing. You are also changing. So when the center of the world mindset is there, you feel untouchable, and especially in the younger people, you feel that your experience is unique. Of course, it's unique in the sense that you are experiencing it, right? But you feel it's superiorly unique to others, right? And your perspective is the correct perspective. Nobody else's perspective matters. So that's the thing. So of course the antidote is practicing all of the humility and impermanence, interdependence, and all this, right? So that's the thing. Let's just stop it here, and we go to the refreshments and discussions part, right? And I want you all to think like how these three or four afflictions come together also, right? So we stop for the discussion, refreshments and the discussion part, and we'll do later, right? Yes, I think we'll stop here.